Okay, well, good morning everybody, and welcome back to the final day, day 7 of our challenge. And today it's the turn of Paul to provide the ingredients for our dinner. And Paul has given us some aubergines, some yoghurt, some sumac, a Middle Eastern spice, and that's it. Aubergine, yoghurt, sumac. So that's going to be quite a challenge, but not a challenge we're going to duck. But it is such a challenge that I've split today's video into 2 parts, so it's a bit easier for you to digest. As you'll see today, I'm wearing my Isles of Scilly t-shirt, given to me by my sister Hilary. Thank you, Hilary. And as you can see, it fits very nicely. Basically wearing that because under normal circumstances today, we would have been landing in the Isles of Scilly at the beginning of our 2-week holiday. But obviously that's not happening, sadly. Instead, we're in Accra and we're heading towards the kitchen to cook some dinner. So, did you guess the introduction music today? That was Fat Les singing Vindaloo. So that's hopefully given you a fairly clear clue as to what we're going to prepare today. It's Saturday, it's got to be a curry. So, what we're going to do is an aubergine curry, or brinjal, as it's called in Indian restaurants. We're going to do a brinjal dansak. Okay, and with that, we're going to do a yogurt and sumac cool sauce or dip to go with the curry, and we're going to make some naan bread, also incorporating some of the yogurt. And then for dessert, we're going to do aubergine fritters with a honey chocolate yogurty sauce. So, in order to do that, what extra ingredients did I need? Some lemon juice, some lentils for the dansak, a little bit of butter, some yeast for the naans, some eggs, or an egg, some honey, and some flour. So not too bad, really. And then on the spice front, we've got a few spices. We've got nigella seeds, chili powder, coriander, cumin, cardamom, and star anise. That's the aniseed flavoured spice. But then we do have one other ingredient, which I hope you don't think is a cheat, and that's a portion of my homemade curry base. We always have some in the freezer, you know, for the next time we fancy a curry. But today I'm going to show you and disclose one of the great secrets of Indian cuisine, how to make a curry base. Okay, and that's coming up right after we've seen Paul's ingredients one more time. Cooking in the kitchen of love. Okay, so on to the curry base. And this really is the foundation for almost every curry that you will order, certainly in a British curry restaurant. This is what the chef prepares in the morning every day to the same recipe using his same magic ingredients. And that pot of curry base will then be on standby for the rest of the day. As the orders come in, he'll take the specific ingredients he needs, add a portion of the curry base, and then add whatever additional flavorings or spices are necessary for that particular dish. So it doesn't matter whether it's a dansak, a dopiatsa, a rogan josh, a madras, they all come back or all start from the curry base. So what's in the base? Well, primarily onions, lots of onions. For this one I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onions, and I'll be using all 5. We won't be using all of the curry base today because we'll be using maybe a third of it or half of it. The rest I'll put into the freezer for the next time we fancy a curry. So onions, to which we add some fresh root ginger, some garlic, probably about 4 cloves of garlic, half a pepper. This is orange, but normally if I can get it, I use red pepper. Doesn't matter too much. A carrot, a little bit of cabbage. Don't need all of this, just a couple of leaves of cabbage. A chili, and then coriander. If you can get fresh coriander, great. A big bunch of coriander to add to it. I can't, so I'm using coriander from a jar. So a couple of big spoonfuls of that will be enough. Basically, put them all into the pan. Add a cup of vegetable oil, sunflower oil or whatever, and then fill the pan up with water. It doesn't need to be full to the top. It doesn't need to completely cover all the vegetables, because as it cooks, as the vegetables soften, they'll drop down in the pan. So you need it maybe 2/3 up the pan with water. Put that on the stove and leave it to simmer for around 45 minutes, by which time all the vegetables should be cooked completely soft, and what you will have there is a fairly tasteless, unseasoned vegetable soup with big chunks of vegetable floating in it. So while that's cooking, we go to our second pan, which is the much more interesting one. This is the one which has all the flavours and the spices in it. And we start here with a tin of tomatoes. If they're whole, then put them in a blender to blitz them down. If they're chopped, you don't need to. You could also use passata if you want to go straight to the liquid version of it, but you start with tomatoes. Add, for extra tomato, a bit of tomato puree to that, just a spoonful of tomato puree. Put that in a pan and start to warm it up, so that the tomatoes are starting to bubble, and again giving off a bit of liquid, and a bit of water is evaporating. And then to that saucepan with the tomatoes in it, we start adding the spices. So the 3 key spices are coriander, ground cardamom, and turmeric. Jamie Oliver and every other chef will say it's better to get the seeds and grind them, but as long as it hasn't been sitting in your cupboard for a year, the ground should be perfectly good, the ground versions. Cumin, coriander, and turmeric. A large spoon of each of those go into the mix. And then the 4th one is chili powder. I don't tend to put too much chili in at this stage, because you can always add it later when it comes to people's personal preferences or what they've ordered. Obviously, if they order a madras, you would put in a load more when you make a madras. But at this stage, just a little bit of chili powder. You've already got the fresh chili as well, so that's probably enough. So cook that for maybe 10 minutes, just to get the spices and everything mixed in with the tomato sauce. And then once you've done that, hopefully your vegetables will have cooked. So you get them back. And then you put all of those into a blender and blitz them down. You might have to do it in 2 goes. It might not all fit into one blender unless you've got a very big one. Blitz it down, not so it's absolutely smooth. I personally, anyway, I like still to have a little bit of grainy texture to it, but that's a personal preference. But you basically blitz that down until it's a liquid. It'll be a sort of a milky white liquid. And what you do then, very simply, is add the tomato and spice mix to the vegetable mix in a big pan, and then cook that away for probably around 30 minutes, I would say. It'll start off as sort of orange by the time you've mixed these two together. Hopefully in about half an hour's time, it will have gone to that sort of lovely golden colour which we associate with Indian curries. And that is basically it. That is your curry base, except for the secret ingredients, because every chef knows that, really. I've just developed mine through trial and error, and what I now put in, either during the tomato pot or once it's all mixed together, it doesn't really matter too much, is I put in a little bit of ginger, quite a lot of ginger actually, some ground fenugreek, if you can get it, Mixed spice, a teaspoon of mixed spice, some amchur powder, that's like mango powder basically, amchur, some garam masala, which is a mix, an Indian mix of spices, including sort of cloves and cinnamon and stuff, and some ground cardamom, and sort of half a teaspoon of this, half a teaspoon of that, a teaspoon of that, depending how I'm feeling. Add all of those to the final mix, and then, as I say, cook it for 30 minutes until it takes on that beautiful golden colour, and by which time your kitchen will smell like an Indian restaurant. Beautiful. Okay, let's have a quick look at those ingredients. Okay, so just very briefly before we finish on this session, I'm just going to show you how we prepare the lentils for the dansak we're going to do later on. So we are going to use two types of lentils. Chana dal, which is the chickpea lentil. If you'll recall, we had some of that on Tuesday with Josh's sweet and sour lentil. And that, as you can maybe see, is in water. That needs to be soaked overnight or for a few hours before you use it. And then some red lentils, and that's enough. That amount of lentils will be quite enough. As I say, let the chickpea lentils soak first, but then once they've soaked, you add both sets of lentils to a pan, add approximately 4 times the amount of water to lentil, gently simmer them. You might, after the first boil, want to skim off some of the scum which collects on the surface. Doesn't matter too much, and then just leave it to simmer probably for about half an hour, and what you will end up with is a sort of a porridge consistency mix. So once you've got that, leave that, put that aside to cool, cover it so that it doesn't go too dry or crusty on top, and then the lentils will be ready for us to add to our dansak, which we're going to do in the second video today. So that's all for me for now. See you later, and I'm going to play you out with a very rare recording, hard to track down, of the Isles of Scilly Steamship Band. Don't forget to tune in to the Johnny Mac Show today on Islands FM from 2 till 5 p.m. and then to Adam's Lockdown Trivia from 7 to 9 p.m. Thank you.